Welcome to Facing Inward, where patient experiences become shared wisdom. This podcast is a space for candid conversations with patients, caregivers, and healthcare professionals who believe that every story holds the power to heal, educate, and inspire change. Whether you're navigating your own health journey or seeking to better understand the human side of healthcare, you belong here. And now your host, Melissa Carter.
I think there's a common misunderstanding about health. We tend to see people as either healthy or sickly, as if those are fixed categories that we stay in for life. But then something happens, a diagnosis, an accident, an unexpected change, and suddenly the healthy are faced with a new reality. They have to learn how to live in a body or life that they no longer recognize. That's what happened to Aurea McGarry, who was living an active, vibrant life until one day she received devastating news. In this episode, she shares how she faced that moment and found strength in her new normal. Aurea and I met, we talk about this a lot. We met many years ago at a domestic violence event. Is that correct? It was geared toward domestic violence,
Yes,
right?
yes. Oh my gosh, best day ever meeting you on that stage.
Oh.
Gosh, what was that now? Maybe 15, 20 years ago?
I think it's longer than that, but we're not gonna say
Gosh,
that,
I know,
because because I think I had just started with the Burt Show, so that's been a while ago.
It
But
has
yeah, so
been.
that's how we met. We've known each other for a long time, and I've just been always inspired by Araya because, we've done several projects together, we've won awards together. The fact that you have such a positive attitude with everything that you've gone through. Now, I know that with my illness, I get the question all the time, well, I don't know how you did that because I don't know if I could. And my
Right.
answer always is, well, when you're put in the thrust of it, yes, you can. You figure it out. So,
Exactly.
do, is that your feeling, and why do you have such a positive attitude after going through something so horrific?
Well, the same thing similar happened to me when my brother had cancer right before I did, and my mother had cancer twice before that. And when I remember seeing my brother in California going through chemo, and I was there to hold his hand while that first chemo went into his veins, and I thought the very same thing. Oh my God, because we're very much health nuts, always have been very healthy and holistic and dancers and all that. And to see that so-called poison going into his veins, knowing how healthy, health conscious he is, and I am, is that, gosh, I could never do that. Not knowing that at that moment I had cancer. They just weren't diagnosing me properly. And just 6 months after that thought, I was thrown into chemo, cancer, surgery. And you're exactly right. We handle what we have to handle. We have no choice. And it's amazing the muscles we have that we don't know we have until we need to pull them out.
Well, and I think
So they're there.
I think that you made an excellent point there when you have no choice, and
Mhm.
people, you hear, people talk about how that's where character is built, is, what do you do with situations when you have no out? But I do
Mhm.
think there is a part of every human being that and I call it survivor instinct, that it just clicks in. Like, you all of a sudden
It
have
does.
determined whether you're going to live or die, and most people decide they're going to live, and you've not only lived, you've thrived, and that's part of what, you call yourself a cancer thriver. So I want to go from you holding your brother's hand and seeing that and being afraid of it to when you got the diagnosis. How did that happen? Where were you? Were you in a doctor's office?
Gosh,
Was it on the
it was my
phone?
birthday. It was
Oh no.
on my birthday. Yes. This is back 1999 when your friends and my mom had just died of cancer. She had lymphoma and she survived that. But 10 years later, she got liver and lung cancer because she was a smoker. So she had just passed away from cancer like a year or two before my brother got it and then I got it. So cancer to us was, you might not make it. It
Yeah.
wasn't as readily curable as it is today for the most part. So it was still that big C word. So I was having chest pains that entire year. And 6 months of that year, my brother was going through the Hodgkin's disease. So I was having chest pains. It just kept popping up. I'd lean over and it would hurt. And I went to 6 different doctors, and all of them, this was in St. Pete, Florida, all of them said, "You're fine, you're fine." I was
Mm.
young, I was healthy, I was working out, I was riding my bicycle 20 miles a day. It was just young and healthy looking. But, we all need to listen to our bodies. I knew something was wrong, but wasn't sure what. I even went to the emergency room one day, and because the chest pains got so bad, and the emergency room says, "How long have you had this pain?" And I said, 6 months. And they said, "Well, this is an emergency. It's obviously not life-threatening. Don't you have a doctor?" I
Mm.
was like, "There's something wrong and nobody's telling me what it is." So they said, "Well, here's a recommendation. Go see a family doctor." And it wasn't for a couple more months after that that I started running out of breath. And my mother-in-law at the time, she said, "Why don't you go see my lung specialist," who happened to be a friend of hers. Long story short, on my birthday, I'm seeing the lung specialist who takes an x-ray and a blood test. And they tell me on my birthday that you do have cancer. We don't know what kind yet, but we're going to have to open up your chest cavity and do exploratory and see what this is. Happy birthday to me. But
Wow.
my message to people is listen to your body. Doctors don't always know everything. If your body doesn't feel right, something is wrong. Never take the diagnosis of it's probably nothing or it's probably no probablys. Find out and don't stop till you find out it is nothing or it is something. I'd rather know definitely.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast, is to give voice to the people who, like you mentioned, you went to, what is it, 6 different doctors? Is that what you
Yep.
said
In one
at the
year.
end?
Hmm.
Over the course of a year, and that's not just going to see them. That's driving, that's rearranging your schedule, that's paying for at the parking deck, that's trying, the
Yeah.
time, to me, the time consumed by the patient is something that is overlooked, I think. I know my son, who just turned 11, if you can believe that around.
Gosh.
He is interested in medicine.
Okay.
And he made a comment. I don't know, he was observing something, and he made a comment about, why don't doctors come to people's houses?
They
And
used to at my day.
exactly, and I
My
said
age is
and I
showing.
said they used to, and I said
Little black
somehow
bag.
they transitioned this industry to where the convenience is on the doctor and the inconvenience is on the patient who is sick, who does not feel well, and they still have to figure out a way to get to the doctor.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a reason for it, usually money, but it's something that I don't think we talk enough about, is when doctors don't take the opportunity to find out exactly what's going on, or at least give you some kind of directive on somewhere else to be. You have some value for the time spent of you having, again, to rearrange your schedule. And I have sat in doctors' offices in their lobbies for 45 minutes, an hour before I ever got called back. Like, it's so
Gosh, yeah.
time extensive that to just be dismissed is infuriating, especially in hindsight, knowing
Mhm.
that this was something that was life threatening. So when they opened you up, what did they find the cancer to be?
Oh gosh, that was an interesting day. Well, they opened me. I never forget. I was standing with Zig Ziglar at the Tampa Bay Convention Center, and Henry Ford and Tony Dungy were doing this event. And as a Mary Kay director at the time, they had us hosting all these people. And I'm standing there, and Zig Ziglar prayed with me and said, "You're going to be fine." And the next day, went into the surgery at 5 a.m. and they opened me up. And I had to get sign away, carte blanche. You do whatever you need to do whatever you need to do. I was 38 years old at the time. So young, healthy, do what you got to do. They opened me up and they said they took out first the thymus. I never heard of a thymus, but it's the thymus gland that's in the chest area that you only need. It's a growth thing, the growth gland. So once you're full grown, you really don't need it much except for a little bit of immunity from what I've learned. So they took out my thymus gland, but the cancer had spilled over to lots of other things. But thankfully, it had not metastasized. But because I was so young and they didn't want to take any chances, so they started removing those pieces and parts of me that had the cancer spilled on. So they took out half of both of my lungs. They removed the lining around my heart. They disconnected half my diaphragm and they removed the left thoracic nerve to my vocal cord. And they told me I would never speak again above a faint whisper, kind of like a tracheotomy survivor, which is what I sounded like for 2 years. But they said the good news is it's non Hodgkin's lymphoma, it's curable. We got it in time, and chemo will sweep up the rest of the cells that we can't see and we couldn't debulk you, they call it. So I would
Wow.
say any day of the week, surgery, recovering from surgery was so much easier than going through chemo, which chemo almost killed me.
Now, wait a second. No, wait, stop there. You said that recovering from a surgery where they've removed
Yep.
part of your lungs, the lining around your heart, the thymus, and also the nerve around your vocal cords and your diaphragm was easier than than
Yeah,
the
much
chemo.
easier. Nothing is worse than chemo. I tell you what, God bless all the chemo survivors out there, survivors you are, because chemo really is like putting an Agent Orange, a poison in your body. And when we thrive that, we really can go through anything. And Melissa, even with your surgery too, that, a transplant is nothing to sneeze at. I didn't have a transplant. That removing is one thing, but you had to have something else put back in and let your body has to accept it.
Yeah.
That's on the same playing field as chemo because it's a major disruption to your body. And we go through that stuff. Truly, everything else is the small stuff. Almost anything else can happen to us now. And we're like, I got this. I've got the muscles now to deal with big stuff,
Mhm.
because I threw up 18 times a day for 10 days straight. Every single time they had to hospitalize me. Insurance didn't want to, like, oh, you can make it through. It's like my body rejected chemo badly. I see people going through, still working and still being, moms and doing all the things they need to do. I literally was wrapped around the toilet floor for 10 days unless they hospitalized me. Then I was only wrapped around it for 3 days after they released me. It was horrific. I lost 10 pounds overnight for throwing up so much. There was nothing left in my body to throw up. It wasn't the diet results I wanted at the time. We always want to lose 10 pounds. Not like that. You don't.
Right.
So my resilience, was really built up during that time. And I did make it. And grace of God, my faith, my family, my friends saying, you can do it. There is power, Melissa, and you know this, in friendship and prayers and having people rally around you. So that really made a difference. It really did.
And correct me if I'm wrong. For those who they of course have heard the term chemotherapy. A lot of people have experienced it with themselves or friends or family members. But for those who have not had any connection, basically what chemo is trying to do is kill the cells that reproduce quickly. But that also includes skin cells, hair cells. Like there's other
Mhm.
good cells that chemotherapy kills along with the cancer it's trying to focus on. So that's why your body is having such a hard time is because like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said, hopefully in the future chemotherapy will look archaic and we'll have a more
Yeah.
specialized centralized way to kill cancer cells. But at the moment, chemotherapy is what we have and we have to endure. And so that's the explanation of why it makes people so sick because
It it
it
kills
is
all the cells, the good and
exactly
the
the
bad.
good
It
and the
doesn't
bad.
know how to differentiate your bad cancer cells from your good cells, which I know there's some great strides happening now that are some pills that do only attack the cancer cells. So we know there's hope. And I'm thinking after suffering, cancer for gosh, decades and decades now, you think they'd come up with something better than what it started from, which was Agent Orange that like wipes out,
Yeah.
everything in the wars, and they're putting that inside you. It does work wonders. I am all for it. You just have to endure the pain of being totally stripped to nothing inside and then rebuilding. And I really rebuilt, if you want to talk about what I did after the fact
Yes,
of chemo
please.
to rebuild my body, because I was such a health nut and still am. That really made a difference as well.
So tell us about, how you rebuilt yourself, bionic woman, after
I know,
after you went through
definitely not
that.
bionic woman. But I was so into, and I still am, but I knew I need to do something. Thank God I had a wonderful oncologist. Some doctors are like not into holistic, not into vitamins, not into anything. And they will talk down on, oh, all that's just woo woo. My doctor was great. He goes, whatever makes you feel good, do it. So he just said, just don't overload on the vitamins and anything, holistic like that until it's over. So nothing interferes with what it's trying to kill. So I said, okay, this is back in 99. So things, of course, have changed in the last 25 years. But he just gave me that advice. I went through all the chemo. And the minute chemo was over, I took my last one. I started doing chelation therapy, which is an IV vitamin therapy that cleans out the arteries. They use it a lot in New Zealand for if you have heart blockages, and they have to have like at least 10 before they even consider a heart bypass because it's like a roto-rooter for your arteries. Then they also added vitamin therapy to it. Like you can't ingest enough vitamin C that an IV can give you. So it's more than 1,000 milligrams. It's a ton, and your body will actually absorb it instead of just peeing it out. So IV therapy was great. And I did it for several weeks. No insurance does doesn't cover it, but that doesn't matter when you're coming out the other end. I spent $1,000 a month at the time on vitamins and chelation, and I even did coffee enemas. It was organic coffee, and I wanted it, all the good stuff to come in and go out whatever end it needs to, because my body was so weak and it looked like a skeleton. I couldn't even walk around the house. I was so weak. So again, our mindset, whatever it takes,
Yeah.
when we think, just a couple months, a year before that, I would have never thought I had the strength or the wherewithal or even the money to do that. Let's talk money.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm not going to spend it. Who's going to spend $1,000 a month on health and vitamins? When you're trying to do that, it's amazing how quickly I found that. And I was able to be an entrepreneur and earn more because I had to. It's amazing what we do when we have to. So never say can't afford or can't. If something happens and you can say, how can I create the money I need for that? How can I raise the money for it? We can be very creative when push comes to shove.
Are you at risk of having a stroke or heart disease? Lifeline Screening offers an affordable package of preventative health screenings to detect your risk factor. Screenings are easy, painless, and non invasive, and located in your area. Click our link in the show notes to schedule your appointment. I met you after you had survived cancer, thrived
Yeah.
cancer. And that's what I've been a part of, some of your conferences, and we've done shows together. And it's just, you encourage women specifically, but also men, on how, like you said, to become entrepreneurs where they can take control of their own life. And even if you don't have to afford something in the medical world, I mean, it's at least a way for you to be in control, and you can support other organizations that you believe in if that's your motivation to make money as well. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love being an entrepreneur, and I still am an entrepreneur because you're able to give yourself a raise at any given moment. Because anything you do, back in the day, I was in direct sales, where I do like direct sales because it's a company, any direct sales that you want to be a part of, you can just plug in and everything else is done for you. All you have to do is do the work. And if you're willing to do the work, and then you can give yourself a raise. And work is a 4-letter word. It's not easy. It's not easy to go out and find your own customers and take rejection and take no's and not take that personally. So no, it's not for the faint of heart. Much easier to clock into a job, even if you don't like it. All you have to do is clock in, do the work, and go home and get a paycheck. And that is for many people. But entrepreneurship, you got to know when you do it, you got to be your own boss, and you got to be a boss to yourself. The pros to that is, if I need an extra $2,000, I can go out and create it and make it. But it's not, I'm not going to ever say it's easy, but it's doable. If you're at a job and that's all you have, your boss is going to give you a $2,000 raise this month just because you needed to ask it, or you say, I want to work some overtime. Can I work overtime? The answer is probably going to be no, sorry, we don't have any overtime right now. So you definitely have more flexibility, but I always am very clear, if you're willing to do the work, you can have more choices, and money buys you choices. I've always said that money buys you choices.
Yeah.
So however you choose to create more wealth or savings or retirement plan or vacation, do it, and just don't squawk at it when it's going to be hard, because yeah, it's hard. So what? But the reward is fun and the reward is great, and you will be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And it's called labor, but that's okay. Be thankful you're able to labor, because then, my heart, Melissa, if you can do that, there's people out there that cannot labor. There's disabled, and there's other countries, like third world countries, that they don't have the opportunities we have in America. They could want to work all day long, but there is nothing they can do. There's no opportunity. Many third world countries, they're just trying to find water. And I think about that all the time. I want to make more to help those who can't, even though they want to. They were born in the wrong country. They were born in the wrong place. There's even those people in America. They were just born in bad circumstances and they can't get out. They don't know how to. So make more to give more. That's my philosophy. Give back.
I mean, so Araya it's always been infectious for me to hear Araya talk, because if you are feeling disconnected, you're feeling negative about your situation, which it can be easy to do in any circumstance, especially when you have some kind of physical illness. It always brings a smile and gets me motivated to hear Araya, because it is about attitude. And I want to talk about that, because you had said And I knew this, but you had said that the doctors told you after that exploratory surgery that you may never speak again because of what they had to do with the nerves around your vocal cords.
Right.
Obviously, you are speaking. Talk a little bit about attitude. Attitude has a lot to do
Yeah.
with how you heal and how you live. And so, how did you get your voice back? What kind of mental things did you do in order to get back to where you are today?
Well, that is plain and simple, Melissa. My faith in God. There was nothing woo woo about this particular part. This was a God given miracle, and I'm so blessed to be a part of that. When I came out of surgery, I was on the gurney and I had tubes coming out of my throat and my stomach. And they were telling me, okay, we have good news and bad news. And this was in my TEDx speech because it's so special to me, this moment in time. And I want to give everyone hope, whatever their faith is or isn't. Maybe they're looking for faith, that God is there, however that looks for anyone. And I remember when they said we have good news and bad news, and the good news is you have cancer. That's okay. Well, what could the bad news be, right? And then the bad news was they told me all the things they had to remove, and they removed the left thoracic nerve to my vocal cord. And they said, you will not be able to speak above a whisper. That would be impossible. It's not going to repair. We had to remove it. It's not coming back, but you're young. You'll bounce back and you'll be cancer free. So I remember that moment. I couldn't talk, obviously, just groggy from the anesthesia. And I remember praying to God, say, okay, Lord, if I can't speak, that's okay. It could be worse. They could be saying I'm incurable and have 3 months to live. And I remember thinking, okay, Lord, why not me? That's okay. I'd rather be me than my daughter or child. It's okay. We got this. So you're either, God, going to give me back my voice. And I'm praying this in my mind and in my heart because I couldn't talk. And I said, you're going to give me back my voice, and you don't need my vocal cord to do that. Or you're going to show me how to live my life without a verbal voice. And that's okay. Let's move forward, whatever has to be to be. And so it was hard those first year or two. And I really sounded like a tracheotomy. It was not good. I needed a cell phone to call my family just in the next room. And I fell. Nobody could hear me scream. It's like one of those bad dreams when you're screaming and nobody can hear you. It's exactly what it was like for me. So it is scary. I can't say I wasn't scared, but I just had such faith that, okay, it could be worse. I could have just had arms and legs amputated. I could be a breast cancer survivor and they have to remove breasts. There's always something seemingly worse. There's always something else it could be. It's okay. I don't have a voice. Maybe nobody need to hear me talking ever again, whatever it is, but I'm okay. And I'm going to be okay. And I'd rather be me than, I never say why me. It's always why not me. And so it's just my faith. It's a miracle. God chose to, use me as example, but I think probably because he knew that I would never be quiet about this, that I would praise him the rest of my life for all my blessings. And that's just, I feel like, my calling. And that's when I started helping nonprofits. That's when I started doing television and talk shows and speaking. It all came from that moment. They said, it would be impossible for you to do this. My calling to do the impossible was given to me that day.
Is there an Aurea today that would not be there had you not been diagnosed with cancer? Because I don't want to promote that, oh, well, certain people deserve to get sick because they
Yeah,
need that
yeah.
for their life. But I will say for me, before my son was born, the most important thing that ever happened to me was my transplant and getting
Right.
sick because my attitude about life changed. So, how has it changed you? And what do you think your life would be like without it?
Well, it's so funny. I just never question our destinies. I used to think the same thing too. Like, how come bad things happen to good people? Well, of course, it's just part of our life. So we can't pick and choose. Oh, that happened to you because, or that happened to me because, or nothing bad will happen to me because I'm a good person, or gosh, only bad people get cancer, whatever. There's none of that. It's just we all get the cards we're given, and I do believe there's a purpose. I do believe we don't get more than we can handle, but we do need help and support. God wants us to reach out to people. God wants us to have hardships and things that are too hard for us to handle alone. So one, we lean on him, and two, we lean on each other. We all went through the pandemic, and that was the only reason I made it through was lots of friends and family, and especially you and Mark, Melissa, that we,
Mhm.
banded together because of the pandemic. So, why did some people live and some people die through that? I never say they did something wrong. Everything happens for a reason, and I'm not here to question that. I'm here to just work with the cards that I'm dealt with every single day. I wish I could say that was the last tragedy that happened, but it's not. We get good times and bad times, and it's how we deal with it. And I just love the fact that I need people. I love surrounding myself with friends and people who are uplifting. And don't wait till something bad happens to start building your tribe of good friends and prayer warriors or family. Family are people you choose to be in your life. So if you have no family, go create your own family. Bring good people into your life because you'll need them and they need you. But don't wait until you need them. Create them so then life takes on a much better balance of, hey, I'm having a bad day. Great, let me help you. Or I'm having a bad day and they help me. So it's that friendship part. So I don't spend a lot of time questioning what it would be like or what if and what if that didn't happen. I never ever think about that. I always think about what am I doing today and who am I helping today? And that also gets my mind off my problems. Who can I help today? Who needs support today? Who needs a laugh today? Like you,
Yeah.
Melissa. Always love your posts, your things you do, because you're very humorous and you make me laugh. It's like, I needed that. Sometimes that does so much for somebody just by following someone on social media that makes them laugh sometimes.
Well, it's funny you say that. Self reflection while I wrote the book and while I'm doing this podcast is almost as if, okay, what's the next step of my life going to look like? And I go back to my youth. A lot of times I think when we're lost as adults, go back to what was instinctual for you as
Yeah.
youth. And it was trying to make everybody laugh when I was a kid. So, when I got on morning radios, I was kind of put into a more serious voice of reason role, which is great. And I was successful at it, but there's a part of me that the humor was
And you're
not.
funny. I didn't
Yeah.
forget your points. I was always telling you, Melissa, you need to write a book because you are like belly laugh funny. And the way you look at things and think of things like, oh my gosh, yes, you should be a stand-up comedian. I
Oh,
mean,
that's
seriously, you
sweet.
make
I
me
don't know
laugh.
about that, but you know what? My next book, maybe it'll be a humor book. How's that?
It
I'll make that
absolutely has
agreement.
to be.
I wanna talk a little bit about insurance. I wanna
Oh gosh.
had because
Oh
that
God.
yeah, that at the time that we're recording this, we're into a new season of people shopping for insurance, and I'm
Uh,
one of those because I work on my own, so I'm trying to find a better plan. And it's not always fun because for people like us, we have to have insurance because we have to see our arsenal of doctors to keep healthy. So, what is your feeling about it, and how do you
oh
think
my
that
gosh.
is it difficult for you? Is it just like me, or is it just somebody else
Oh
thinking,
my
is it
God.
just me that they won't pay for my doctor's visits and my copay tends to increase every year? I mean, what are your feelings about that?
Oh, you've opened up Pandora box now. Okay. I mean, this has been so horrific for me as far as I don't have the answer to the way it should be, but I have the answer the way it shouldn't be. It's the way it's been. Luckily, in 1999, I was in Florida, and it was so fun. It was such a God thing. I just like a year and a half or 2 years before I was diagnosed with cancer, an insurance person came to our Mary Kay event and was talking about insurance for the entrepreneur and direct sales. And they had a relationship, I think, with the direct selling industry and we were able to get insurance. So I jumped on it. Now, normally, Melissa, that is not something I would have done. I'm not a reasonable person. I live for the moment. I'm out there entertaining. Would never stop to think about, oh, something practical that I need, right? That's what me. But for some reason, it hit that I needed to have that insurance. It was really affordable. It's like $200 something a month for the family. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so I did it because, they had this relationship with Mary Kay at the time. It's like, okay, good. Well, I'm so glad I had that because just about a year and a half, 2 years later, I was diagnosed with cancer and they did like pay for everything. I don't remember all the ins and outs because I was surviving at the moment, but I know that we weren't in any debt. They covered mostly everything. It was nothing. I wasn't left with any big chunk of it to hold. Fast forward though, we moved to Atlanta 6 months later and they said your insurance will transfer to Georgia. Well, no, it won't, and no, it didn't. When I got to Georgia, moved lock, stock, and barrel, everything to my dream home in Georgia, it did not transfer. And I'm still, these times when you're fresh out of the surgery, fresh out of chemo, there is a lot of post care. There is
Yeah.
this every 6 month, CAT scans. They're $5,000 a piece. There's blood tests. It's every 6 months. You got to go see your doctor, and it's not cheap. And they took away lost my insurance. And so thankfully, again, I was in direct sales too, and I was able to pay cash. So for a while, I was paying cash because I had no choice, right? Got to get those CAT scans because non Hodgkin's was notorious for coming back. So you really have to watch it closely for the first 5 years. So what do you do without insurance, right? Well, long story short, I think then we got the Affordable Health Care Plan came into play. And this was, I don't know, 2011, 12 in there somewhere. So I'd gone without insurance all this time. So we're talking, I had to pay cash for everything. My care, my family's care was always cash. I had nothing. We were uninsured. Then affordable health care came, and that's misnamed because it was not affordable. Just for the three of us, it was $14,000 a year because we didn't fall in the
Yeah.
bracket of income to get help or for it to be affordable. We were middle class. So we're not high enough income where $14,000 isn't going to mean anything to us. And we're not low enough where we get subsidized, get help. So we're in that horrible middle class where you're going to have to pay and it's going to hurt. Not only that, it was $5,000 deductible for each one of us. So you'd almost have to go through chemo, get hit by a bus to spend $5,000. So I was crying online one time, just kind of on Facebook with my friends. I'm an entrepreneur. I started doing my Live Your Legacy summits. You remember those
Yep.
well. And thinking, what are my entrepreneur friends doing? This is unaffordable for us. We cannot keep doing this. We don't use it, but we've got to pay for it. It was the law. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And one of my friends on there said, have you ever heard of Christian Healthcare Ministry? It's kind of like a MediShare. And I had never heard of it. So long story short on that, it did approve. It was approved by what we had to have back then. That was the law. It was approved. If you had this, it would count. So I went ahead and got it. And it was like $450 a month for all three of us, just one $450 back the day. And it covered everything $500 or over. And it was a godsend to do this. Back in the day, we had to deal with some things, and it paid for everything. Now it's got a deductible of $1,250, but that's okay. At least it was something. So we still paid cash first, and they reimbursed you. So that's the only answer I have for it. We need a better way. It's just we shouldn't have to wait till we're 65 to get Medicare and get some help. But I don't have the answer. I just know you're not alone out there if you're listening to my voice. It was hard. Insurance is not easy, and it's always a struggle. And to this day, I still know people that need cataract surgery, and their insurance will pay for the surgery, but not for the lens. And the lenses are $8,000. So there's so much disconnect. Melissa, I don't know. Do you have an answer for it? It is
No,
a
well,
struggle.
I think that just having the conversation is important. Like you said, I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
commercials for that. I didn't know how the one that you're on is. We certainly, I don't endorse anything on the podcast,
Right.
but just having options, like you said, having a choice. But I think that
Oh, yeah.
I talked about that again to bring it up and to let people who are dealing with insurance know they're not alone in their frustration. That
Exactly.
I think it's offensive personally that people make so much money off of sick people, which I think is
Yeah.
is
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
inhuman.
The upcharge to everything. When I paid cash, this could be no news to anybody. But I remember my daughter had to go to the hospital. She like hit her head on the bottom of the pool when she dove wrong, and she had to go to the hospital. They had to transfer her via an ambulance. And I remember that they went to charge me. I don't know, it was like $8,000 for just the ambulance ride to the St. Joseph's. But because I paid cash, it was only
Yes,
$800.
yes,
I'm like, but if insurance paid it, it would have been 8,000.
exactly,
Somebody's paying for that extra $8,000 there, and it's
exactly.
all of us in our insurance. So why would the same ride to the same hospital be either, oh, pay cash and pay 800, or oh, we're going to bill the insurance companies 8,000? There's that's wrong. That never
Well,
made
yes,
sense.
and I know a medical malpractice attorney who I probably need to bring on the podcast.
Yeah,
Who
you should.
and I've known her to talk about how don't
Mhm.
pay the bill that they give you because there's wiggle room because they know they're overcharging you. But anyway,
Never mind
uh,
with the drugs too, the overpayment of drugs and people that can't afford them. I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole all day long. We just know
right.
we need help.
And I am leading somewhere with this. That is a consistent conversation of frustration for
Yeah.
everyone because you're sick, you don't feel well, you're scared, then you're getting these bills and people go bankrupt because of them and it ruins their lives just because they got sick. So I want to kind of circle back to what you're doing now and again a way of empowering people to help bring themselves up not only from an emotional black hole but potentially a financial one too.
Well, one thing I don't understand, Melissa, too, is why insurance doesn't cover staying healthy.
Mhm,
They don't
mhm.
cover the things like I did, chelation treatment and vitamins and anything. Some do chiropractic. My son-in-law's a chiropractor. Love it. I couldn't live without him being my chiropractor. But all these extra things that keep people healthy, whether it's like I said, your protein shakes, your spa, your gym memberships stuff. They cover some, I think, when you're older. But I'm all about preventative. And if that means, and I hate to say this, but it's how I live my life. If that means you have to do a job or do extra work or be your own boss on the side to make extra money to afford preventative care so you prevent disease, because I'm here to tell you,
Yeah.
they can't cure everything. And just living and eating wrong and doing all the bad things for your body just because eating crap because it's cheaper, which is not a good mindset, going fast food or whatever, and then not taking care of your body because it's too expensive. And it is. I'm here to say, do whatever you have to do to make that extra money too, whether it is getting organic, not all the time. I mean, I'm not perfect, that's for sure. I would love to get all organic, but I don't, but I get a lot. I try to eat healthy and I keep the vitamins and the collagen and do my research on the right liquid vitamins. It absorbs better into my body. Just taking those extra steps that if you haven't thought about it before, might be thinking, oh, I can't afford that. Being healthy is too expensive. It is. And that's why another, insurance thing. I think insurance should cover preventative care to stop making us pay through the nose when we get sick. You try to fix us and then we're unfixable. We need to go back to look at, I saw a show, Melissa, you might have seen it. I think it's in Netflix. It was 4 episodes and it's How to Live to 100, something like that.
Yes.
Did you
Yes.
see that?
I have. Yes.
And the poorest countries, the little like Costa Rica, live to 100, not because, most of them don't have insurance. It's about preventative. And back to your remark, Melissa, they have the doctor visits each home, each like little hut once a year, every year, but they eat their own grown food. They're out on horseback. They're walking. Their gym is not inside. It's
Right.
outside.
They're in
Same
nature,
in the
right?
Greek island. My Greek grandmother died at 104. She was in this country. She lived in Ohio, but she had the mindset of growing all her own food, eating healthy, walking. It's just get back to basics. And there was one in like Singapore, here's the kicker. What I said before, Melissa, and you'll get this because we went through the pandemic together, is friendship and family community
Yeah.
helps you live longer. And they gave tax deductions, I think, in Singapore for if you live in the same building, these big, huge buildings, as your parents or your parents live near you. They give you tax deductions if you're taking care of your elderly parents. I mean, we don't just throw people away and we don't just all live 900 miles away from each other. It's about being near that person, breaking bread every night. They showed the Greeks, how they were drinking wine and having meals, not in the holidays, every single day. People caring for each other and emotionally as well as physically. So I think there's a lot more to be done on the preventative side, emotionally, spiritually, health-wise, benefits, organic. I'm so glad we're starting to get the pesticides out of our food and our lotions and our shampoos. It's a step. It'll take a while, but it does take more effort on our part. And nobody's saying we're ever going to be perfect and completely organic in America. It's really hard and it is expensive, but do a little bit more. Just do a little bit more to prevent having to see the doctor if you don't have to.
Are you a medical social worker or case manager? Talk to us about the challenges patients face. facinginwardpodcast@gmail.com. This is an opportunity for share like links, where people can find you, how they can be motivated by you, because again, I think you're just a great person to get to know for sure, and to get to know for those who don't know you. So where can they find more about you?
Oh, thank you, Melissa. Well, I'm just on social media now for fun. They can find me on Facebook under Aurea McGarry or Aurea McGarry Productions. It's Aurea McGarry Productions on Instagram. But I do a lot more on Facebook now. I'm just kind of more family friendly these days, just talking to friends and family. And I just want to give hope to the world. I'm not selling anything anymore. I do pickleball full time and I just love being a pickleball coach. And I'll speak on podcasts or I'll go speak at events just because I'll never say no to a microphone because God gave me this calling to be the voice of hope. They call me a ray of hope, and I will always do that until the day I take my last breath. So find me under my name, Aurea McGarry, on YouTube, and I still host shows. I still host Get Celebritized, but it's all just to give back and to give hope. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, I love the fact that you have that voice of yours that you were able to, like you said, in a partnership with your spirituality, but you were able to get back and you have used it very well. And I am pleased to have you on the podcast. I do have one last question. We'll close with this because again, Facing Inward is a, medically patient oriented podcast. So if you
Sure.
could change one thing about how we treat patients, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, listen to them for sure. Listen. So many times women don't get listened to, minorities don't get listened to, uh, just kids don't get listened to. It. I just say the doctors, the medical need to listen more than they speak, really listen, lean in to what the patient's saying, because we do know our bodies better than anyone, and don't go by what it looks like or what it could or should be. Find out. So listen and find out for sure whether it is something or isn't something. But listen to everyone, and don't ever, for the medical community, don't ever, ever tell anyone, especially says it a lot to women, oh, it's just in your head, or it's just, that. I mean, don't even go down that road. If somebody's in pain or hurting emotionally, spiritually, or physically, it's real and it needs to be addressed as real. And you need to keep pursuing it until some kind of solution is come to, not just, well, just let it be. No.
Facing Inward is an extension of my book, Facing Inward, available anywhere books are sold. This podcast is a production of Wanging Dude Publishing, all rights reserved. Thanks for listening.